Monday. Things are getting interesting out there, kind of as we expected. So thankful we got through those rough 2 weeks a few weeks back. Again, the news will still be choppy, but I do think we're going to have an increasing wave of good news coming our way. I am reminded of a quote that was very, very frequent in 2010 today. Morning, Josh. And that is a phrase that it says, "Don't fight the Fed." Man, that was, I seemingly heard that every day back in 2010, 11, once the Fed kind of started doing work. And that's really one of the big differences, again, between 2008 crisis and 2020. The 2008 crisis was first and foremost started with bad loans, bad lending practices, a whole concatenate of stuff all around lending. And it took the Fed quite a while before it kind of jumped in front of this runaway train. And by then the pain was there. Very different from today, right? The Fed, the Treasury, frankly, the executive branch has done stuff in record fashion. Has the stuff started hitting the street yet? Not really, but we'll talk about that a little. But again, I heard it this morning and I'm like, wow, I haven't heard that in a while, right? Don't fight the Fed. Again, the Fed has done everything it's done in 2008 through 10. They've created a lot more things going on. I will check out George. I don't know him. But the Fed's still not done. Some people keep saying the Fed's out of bullets, the Fed's out of bullets. It's not true, right? The Fed has a lot of flexibility, and frankly, they can create bullets. So to think that they're out of bullets is almost comical. Not that to say that there won't be ramifications of what they do, but to think the Fed is done is probably not the right thing. So I agree. Don't fight the Fed, right? The Fed sees an issue. The Fed comes in. It does have unintended consequences. I think a lot of what we see going on in the mortgage market has been caused by, the Fed jumping in. I'll probably even do another video today on the mortgage crisis because I think the mortgage market is getting convoluted because of the Fed stepping in and everything going on, and lending's getting harder, right? You first saw that in multifamily. If you're paying attention over the weekend, or maybe it was Friday, J.P. Morgan Chase came in and basically said, we're stepping back from even doing home loans. Now, they didn't say that explicitly. They just said, hey, we're raising our standards. You got to have a credit score of 700 versus 620. You got to put 20% down minimum. So it's coming. So be careful in that market. So a couple of things I noted today. Again, long list of things. There's a Fed president out there talking about being ready for 18 months ahead. His article was rather negative, and I don't agree with a lot of it, but I think it's very clear we're going to have a U-shaped recovery. I think we're going to have, if we come down 30% GDP in Q2, Q3 should snap back double digits, but it's not going to snap back all the way up, right? We're going to lose some momentum. Q4, I think this is, Q3 is better than Q2, Q4 is better than Q3, Q1 is better than Q4, and maybe we're back to normal by Q2. Some of that will rely on whether or not we get a second wave, kind of during the flu season, whether or not a vaccine or at least a great treatment comes out. I think we get back to a functioning economy just with a treatment. A vaccine is awesome, but a treatment that is effective for most folks would be equally good because, again, such a large percentage of us don't get sick. So, again, that'll be cool. Mark Cuban is out this morning, and, if we're not careful, Mark Cuban's going to run for the president of the United States. He's getting a lot of airtime recently. I like a lot of what he's saying. He was basically on the telly today talking about the Small Business Association, or SBA, and the banks kind of playing games with these idle loans and the like. Basically, his stance is, and he says he's read all the paperwork, which, if true, is impressive. I certainly haven't read that document and have no interest in reading that document. But if he did, good on him. And the fact that the banks are running maybe too deep of a view into what's going on because they want to make sure they're not getting taken advantage of. But the money's not coming, and it's now what, eight business days old, 7 business days old. So we were hoping to have some of the money because companies are making the choice right now, especially small businesses, whether or not to lay off, furlough, whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on. My guess is we have to see some movement there, and I'm guessing it's going to take the Treasury to come out and say, lend money, because again, we want to keep as much of this together as we can. Next up, Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs has changed their tune. What was it like? I think it was last Monday. They came out with just this negative article: 40% drop in GDP, 25% unemployment, all of that. I'm guessing their analysts had a good Easter or something because they basically came out and said that the bottom is in. The bottom is in because, again, the Fed is doing whatever it takes. The Fed is on wartime footing. Again, I hear that. I read that over the weekend, and I hear the quote this morning: don't fight the Fed. Maybe so. I personally think there's another leg down, but I'm not as convinced as I was last week. Last week, I'd have bet the house on another leg down. Today, I don't think I bet the house, but we'll see. Q1 earnings are coming out this week. Wells Fargo and J.P. Morgan, I think, kick it off tomorrow. United Health Group, I think, as well. They're going to mean nothing. Q1 is irrelevant at this point. If there's something less than irrelevant, that's what it is. I think it's more important for people to talk about Q2 in the second half, but again, they're not going to. They have no interest in telling us how bad it is, so they're not going to. It's wait and see, pull guidance. This is the time we need companies to be transparent, and they're not. They're just not going to be transparent today. But it's very clear that I want to hear from the banks on lending and their forbearance requests, because what J.P. Morgan Chase did on Friday and other banks will likely do this week is not helpful. So it will be interesting. We are getting downgrades finally. I've been telling you for a while that downgrades have to happen. There are companies that are simply not doing well, and their earnings guidance hasn't been reduced. So finally, Wall Street analysts are coming in and kind of making layups, right? Hey, this company's going to be hurt. This company's going to be hurt. But again, that each one of those is a press release, and it's kind of seen as negative news. But we need to get through this, right? We need to, if the S&P earnings was $200 a share, well, we've got to reset at 100 or 80 or whatever it is. And to think that we're almost a month into this and that hasn't happened is borderline irresponsible. So expect a bunch of those today. Looks like the OPEC cut is coming through. Mexico came in and was a fly in the ointment on Friday. The talk is somewhere between 10 billion and 20 billion, right? The whisper number. Either way, that's a great idea. Frankly, they didn't have a choice. There's no place to put the oil almost. But again, having that dramatic cut allows the world to not see $8 oil or whatever, which will affect gas prices, keep some companies afloat. But there's no demand. I mean, I don't know about you, but I haven't driven in. I think I've driven 10 miles in the last month. So, and no flights. It's just we have a demand problem. We just got to stop pumping and wait till we fix the demand picture. There's a lot more talk about a cautious opening in May, right? Is it early May? Is it mid-May? I think there's a lot of things going on. We've got to fix the PPE problem, right? I just heard today that New York doesn't have swabs to do tests. Come on, folks. Our supply chain is whack. Something we have to do coming out of this is make more stuff at home. I'm hoping, at the end of this, there's a monster infrastructure bill. And one of those things is tax incentives to build manufacturing plants for healthcare. We can't have stuff in countries that frankly don't like us, don't like begging. Let's just make some stuff at home, please. Hopefully that is true. And same for medicine. Yeah. Yes, oil producers have one thing to do, that is for sure. Disney Disney World, I think it is, basically a part of the Disney Corporation, furloughed 43,000 people, basically parks. I'm shocked that didn't happen already, frankly. Um, that's just more and more companies are going to be doing that. One thing I will note is I read a lot of articles in Bloomberg. Bloomberg.com has, for whatever reason, got really negative over the weekend. Every article was fear mongering, and there was not even a hint of silver lining in any of the articles. I don't mind reading lots of different sizes, but man, when every one of your article leaves you frightened, cowering in a corner, that's not something we need now. I think they're also weeks behind the curve if that's where they are, because again, I think the good news is starting. I was not happy with Bloomberg's articles over the weekend. Yeah, he could be going bankrupt, that's for sure. But again, Bloomberg is, I don't know what he is. I don't know what that, I don't know what they accomplished this weekend. And it was a big change too. It was a nice mix of stuff the last month or so, but this weekend, I don't know. They got a new editor or something. It was bad. Um, then the other thing is, I don't know if you saw this, but AMC Theaters or AMC Entertainment, I guess, is the parent company or the umbrella company. Um, they're not paying April rent, and people are guessing they're going bankrupt. Uh, that's I don't know why people think that's a bad thing, right? We saw lots of big companies go bankrupt during the Great Recession and come out stronger. AMC theaters, frankly, I think people more companies should go bankrupt, reposition debt, come out of this thing stronger. Renegotiate leases. Going bankrupt is it's there for a reason. It's kind of a way to clean stuff up, and I'm sure it's not fun, and I'm sure, but sometimes you just got to go, right? It doesn't mean it doesn't exist anymore. So again, I think there's a lot more companies that should use this environment to declare bankrupt, restructure debt, start clean. Looks like a lot of companies did that during the Great Recession, and they came out stronger. So, and again, I think it's a good idea to go early, right? You want to be the first ones going bankrupt so you can come out of this faster. So, it will be interesting to see what happens. So, in the end, I want to thank you for watching. We do this every day. If you want to get notified about our daily discussions, hit the subscribe button, a little alarm bell, whatever that is. And of course, you have a wonderful day. I have an interview at 8 with our expert series. And I'll probably do a video later about the mortgage crisis, because I see this lending environment getting pretty restrictive at the wrong time. So I want to talk about that as well. All right, everybody, take care. Bye.